Can't be everything to everybody. I wanna be your lover, your best friend, your Batman, your Spider-Man. Oh, hey, yeah, I was actually just listening to one of my favorite songs by J. Cole, actually called Brackets. Um, yeah, did you know hip hop actually shapes our culture today in our modern society? Yeah, it's shaped me and shaped many others across America and across the world. Rap and hip hop is not just a genre as many may believe. It has shaped our modern society and shaped culture today as we know it. And today I'll explain how that is and why it's important to understand how that it shaped our culture today. And first, we have to talk about the origins, of course, and discussing the origins of hip hop. Kind of starts around the 1970s to the 1980s, but I'm going to jump over a little bit into the late 80s, early 90s with the East Coast versus West Coast, otherwise also known as the Tupac versus Biggie, like rap civil war, if you will. Rosa Trisha goes and iterates more on this in the Hip Hop Wars, her novel, and she kind of talks about how in that time period people were standing up. Not only the rappers standing for their side, but people from the West Coast were fighting for the West Coast with Tupac, and people from the East were fighting their side from with Biggie Smalls. Everybody was fighting for their belief, and they stood very strongly on those beliefs, and they didn't let others persuade them, and they went to drastic measures to make sure that they were understood. Um, Also, hip hop has become very mainstream over the years and in today with the startup of social media such as TMZ and Instagram. And for example, there's two very popular Instagram accounts such as Rap. I'm sure most of you have heard of that Instagram account. It's one of the fastest growing Instagram account pages there is on the app, let alone hip hop and rap culture. They post so much cultural and rap news and music, and it's very good source of social media form if you're into the rap and hip hop culture. And there's also the World Star Instagram account, which had the entire country saying World Star. It just shaped our language, and it just shaped who we are as people through these social media accounts. And going into the cultural influence, rap has shaped our culture in many different aspects. For one, it shaped our fashion. It shaped our fashion so much that sometimes we don't even realize it. For example, these are one of the most popular shoes there is, the Panda Dunks. And sometimes people don't realize where this shoe comes from. That shoe, of course, is from Nike. Many of you know that. But the Dunks come from starting with the Jordan brand, actually, back in the 90s with Michael Jordan. And that started with the hip hop culture. That started up the shoe, that started up the brand. And Dunks are a version of that brand that progressed and moved forward. There's also not as well known Dunks, such as the Lottery Dunks that I own. Also, the Gym Red USC Dunks that I own. All of those shoes come from hip hop culture, and many of us don't realize that. But not only does the fashion go in on it, there's so many more aspects. But in fashion, actually, by Elizabeth Wilson's article, Fashion and Music, you'll learn more about it and how music will shape our fashion and shape the way we dress across the world, not even just in the US. Also, speaking onto the cultural influence, hip hop and rap have shaped our culture, and hip hop and rap artists actually also like to point out some societal and political issues. For example, Jermaine Lamar Cole, otherwise known as J. Cole, in his song Brackets, decided to go into a societal issue. And now quoting his lyrics from the song, he says, "And the curriculum be tricking them dollars I spend, got us learning about the heroes with the whitest of skin. One thing about the man that controlling the pen, they write history, they always seem to white out their sins." And that's a very powerful and empowering voice that points out to the societal issue that we all need to put some focus on. He's talking about how his tax dollars are going into the schools that's the belief that it's going into schools and help funding schools. But he's saying that it's funding the schools for the wrong reasons because the curriculum is based off the racist history of the United States and how our country was built on racism to begin with. And he's saying that there's an issue with that and we can't have that. And we need to speak up about it. And this is one way through his music that he speaks up about it. And it helps bring so many more eyes to this issue, that all the listeners listening to the song seeing there's an issue and we all need to resolve this and come together. So that's why it's important we have that culture, and rap shapes that culture so we can all learn that there is an issue and we need to come together to fix it. And for moving forward, there's also the musical innovation aspect of hip hop and rap. For example, sampling and inspirations, right? Sampling is a form that music artists will take a piece of lyrics or take some of the production from somebody else and use it in their own music because it inspires them to make better music and make music that will send out to the people for important reasons, such as Jermaine Cole's song. But one example of that, from Paul D. Miller, actually, in one of his articles, he does depict how it's important that sampling is in hip-hop culture, and it's important that people are inspired by others so we can all learn to be inspired from each other. But one example of that is A Lot by 21 Savage. You'll see that he samples I Love You by East of Undergrounds, which was a rock and roll band in the 1970s. Not many people understand or know that, but that song is a big part of 21 Savage's song, and many of us brush over the fact that part was sampled in the beginning. But it's very important that we do keep in mind that sampling is important, and it brings inspiration to music artists, and it's also a way that we as people can build inspiration and build bigger projects off of other people's ideas. We all, as a society, can come together, collaborate, share ideas, and build a better society. It's just very important for us as a society to build that strong connection and build a good culture, and that is exactly what hip-hop culture does. So to conclude, going over again, hip-hop does shape our culture significantly. It's not just a genre of music. It shapes our culture, and it's very important that we understand that. And it shapes our culture through fashion trends, through speaking on society.